Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Natalie and this month we are going to be budgeting my very first full month of paychecks from my new corporate job. I recently graduated from college, so being totally on my own financially is a new thing to me, and this is my very first month being, like I said, entirely on my own, paying all my own expenses. And so I thought I would bring you all along with me in my budgeting process for this month. So my first full month at my job was actually August, and I'm filming this in October because I'm a procrastinator, but I thought it would be cool to show you guys my very first month, because I wanted you to be able to see, like, did my expectations for what I was going to spend my first month living on my own live up to the reality and what that looks like. I believe this is my first personal finance video on this page, but I'm hoping to start incorporating more. I know I've talked about it a little bit on TikTok, but personal finance is a big interest of mine. I am like a big personal finance nerd, and I have this extensive spreadsheet that I started budgeting on, which I'll at some point hopefully make a video and share like my whole budgeting process and share the spreadsheet that I use with you all. But right now I'm just gonna be kind of taking you through what my month looked like. And yeah, I also wanted to make these videos to hopefully show like what a realistic budget looks like from someone that's fresh out of college and is, you know, trying to prioritize doing fun things and like being in their early 20s while also being, I tend to be on the more frugal side, and saving and investing is really important to me. I want to be able to invest a certain amount of my salary. I watch another influencer that makes these budgeting videos and I love her, but honestly it's kind of depressing to see her have like an $800 to $1,000 restaurant bill one month, and then at the end of the video hear her say like, yeah, but luckily I was still able to save like half of my income this month. And I'm like, what? Like, what? That's insane. That is not my reality. So hoping to bring a more like normal perspective to it. So I'm going to talk about what my like two biggest money priorities are right now, besides obviously like paying my bills. But two big priorities for me is, like I said, being able to save and invest a healthy percentage of my corporate income. That's something that's really important to me. I don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck, and investing in the future makes me feel like safe and financially secure. So that's something that's like super important to me, which is kind of how I've become so almost religious about budgeting, because I want to ensure that I am able to save and invest that amount, and I'm not like screwing myself over by spending too much. And then my other big priority is I am trying to save to buy a horse. And if you don't know anything, you don't even have to know anything about horses. It's pretty obvious that like horses are very expensive, and that's a whole nother video that I'm gonna make and talk more about, like how I'm trying to save for this horse. But that's something that's kind of a big priority for me right now. So on top of my regular 9-to-5 income, I also have a side hustle where I pet sit for people. I'm hoping that once I actually have the horse, that me pet sitting will entirely pay for the horse, but right now I'm just saving up to buy the horse. So absolutely everything that I make from pet sitting just goes straight into my horse fund. And I'm pretty much doing this to allow me to be able to save and invest the percentage of my income that I want. The sacrifice that I've made, because I also want the horse, is picking up another gig on the side, and I've been pet sitting for years and I love animals, so I'm happy to do it even if it can get a little exhausting sometimes. So the type of budget that I follow is what's called a zero-based budget. So pretty much every dollar that I'm getting is allocated to a specific purpose, so I know where all my money is going. I started with my investments actually, and I said, okay, what's a realistic amount of money that I want to be able to set aside each month? So I need to make sure that my savings and investments plus my expenses each month equal what I've made. So that's where the zero-based budget comes in. The money that I make from my 9-to-5 income, since I am salaried employee is consistent each month, so that does make it easy for me to know exactly what's going to be coming in. The money from my pet sitting gig obviously can fluctuate more, but all that money just goes straight to saving up for the horse. So I'm not going to go through every single expense that I had. I'm not gonna like completely expose everything that I spend, but I am gonna take you through some of like my wins and losses for the month. And so what I mean by a win is an area in my budget where I spent less than expected, and then a loss is obviously an area where I spent more, an area where I was a little in the red. And I'm going to talk about like what I do about that and how I rearrange my budget to accommodate for all of those things. So an area where I was a little in the red was my rent and utilities combined. This was just a bit higher than I expected this month. I did just move into my apartment, so I was kind of making a guess at what utilities would be. And then there were also some extra fees that we had to pay this month just with getting moved in and everything. So that did end up being a little bit higher than I expected. I'll be honest with you all, rent is freaking painful. Like, what I'm paying here in South Florida is over twice what I was paying at my college apartment back in Georgia. And to be fair, in Georgia I was one of 4 roommates, and here I just have one other roommate, but it's still over twice. Like, it's just absolutely insane. I do live in like a nice apartment, but it's not like crazy nice. I don't know. It's a little painful, to be honest. Should I say what I pay? Okay. Yeah, I will. So back when I lived in Georgia, I paid $5.91 every month for rent, and that was pretty much included all my utilities. The only utility that wasn't included was electric, which never was more than like $30 a month. So total, I'm paying like low $600. Whereas at this apartment in South Florida with just one other roommate, I pay $13.25 a month. So going from very low $600 to $13.25, it's painful. And I pay less than my roommate does because my roommate has the bigger bedroom. She has the master bedroom, so her room and her bathroom is a lot bigger than mine. So yeah, when my dad told me that he literally pays less for our mortgage for a family of 4 than we pay for this apartment, it is what it is. So just want to be transparent about that, because I do think it's interesting to know what people are paying for their rent. And I know I asked around and asked a ton of people while I was apartment searching down here. So really the only other area in my budget this month where I was a little bit in the red was in my groceries, and it wasn't a lot, but it did surprise me because I thought I had a pretty generous grocery budget. I never went over this budget at all for groceries back in Georgia, and I think part of the difference here maybe is that maybe the prices are just a little bit more expensive down here, but also I know a ton of inflation happened with food prices over the summer, and over the summer I was living with my parents, and so back in the spring when I was like living on my own and buying groceries, things were probably a bit cheaper than they were now. I am a big Publix girl, and also going to Trader Joe's. Those are like my 2 main ones. But I've never explored Aldi before, and I think it's time for that. I am obviously definitely still going to go to Trader Joe's and Publix some, but I think if I could just do a rotation of like Publix, Trader Joe's, Aldi, that would help decrease my budget overall. And yeah, just being more mindful about using up everything that I bought before going back to the grocery store. So an area where I was really in the green for this month was my fun category, and my fun category includes both like going out to eat, drinks, and activities. I'm the type of person where I don't go out to eat unless I'm with other people. I'm big on cooking my own food. That's just like one area where I'm able to be pretty disciplined with myself. And the reason why I didn't spend a lot of money on this category this month is because I was actually alone in South Florida for a lot of the first month of August. I had just moved here, and my roommate didn't come and move down here until the middle of the month, so I really didn't have anyone to go do fun things with. which is nice for this month to be in the green because that means I can save and put more towards a future trip or towards a future fun activity. Now going forward in the future, I definitely do, I do want to be spending money on fun things. I'm not going to be so frugal that I'm never gonna do anything fun for myself, but this month was just kind of a weird month with being new to the area and moving, and so I will send this fun money that I didn't spend for this month and I'll put it in a sinking fund so that I can use it for a future month if I spend a little bit more on fun than I allocated. I realize I did not give specific numbers on the grocery thing, and I will do that. I have allocated $300 towards groceries. Like I said, I never ever went over that in Georgia, and this month I spent $335, so I did go over a little bit. And then in my fun category, this may surprise some people because I know I just said my fun combines like drinks, activities, and food. My fun category right now is at $200, and this month I only spend $55 on fun activities. I know that's probably gonna surprise a lot of people because I know a lot of people spend way more than that. This is something that I'm trying to keep pretty lean right now, as I'm saving up for the horse, and I also want to like set my expectations low so that like I said, I'm not going to deprive myself of going to do fun things, but I also don't want to overindulge either. So I figured if I started by giving myself a lower budget, that would just be better. So we'll see how that goes. So if you're asking, okay, you spent more on your rent, really it was the utilities this month than you anticipated. Where does that money come from if you said you have a zero-based budget? Well, right now my account that fluctuates based on my needs every month is my saving fund for the horse. Now, most of the money that I allocate towards the horse just comes straight from pet sitting, but there is also a little bit of money that I allocate from I wouldn't even say a little, a pretty decent amount of money that I allocate from my 9-to-5 budget to go towards my savings fund for the horse as well. And so this month I just got to save a little bit less in that category because I had to use some of it for the overflow on rent and the overflow on groceries. So that's basically the category in my budget that I can pull from every month in order to make everything even out the way it's supposed to. So like I said, I have a spreadsheet where I keep all this information. I really like manually inputting everything. It helps me feel in control, and what I would do is at the end of every week, I would just sit down on my laptop while watching a show, and I would pull up my app that has both my checking account and my credit cards, and I would log the expenses in their appropriate categories. And so at the end of this month, I just finished that up so I could log all of my expenses. And then from there, all the money that I earned from my 9-to-5 job and pet sitting are sitting in my checking account. And at the end of the month, I do two things with that money, or not two, I do a few things with that money. First thing I do is I pay my bills. So some of the stuff comes straight out of the checking account, like rent. Some things are on my credit card, so I pay off my credit card bill at the end of every month. Then I take the money that I set aside for investments and I move those to my investment accounts at the end of every month. And then I also have sinking funds. Once again, the sinking funds could be a whole nother topic that I talk about, but sinking funds are basically money that I set aside for an expense that I know I'm going to have in the future that might not occur every month. So one of the main areas that I have a sinking fund for is my car. I'm going to need my oil changed, my tires rotated in the near future, and then in the more far out future, I'm going to have to get my tires replaced. And if it's going to cost me however much tires cost, $600, $800, I literally have no idea. If that expense hit me all at 1 month, I would really be kind of screwed. So that way, putting a certain amount each month aside. When the time comes to have to pay for one of those big expenses, I've been prepared for it and I'm not like freaking out every month. And I do have sinking funds for other things. Like I said, with the fun category, that money that I didn't spend this month just isn't going to disappear. I'm going to put it into a sinking fund for fun. So either I can save up for a big event, concert tickets, a trip with friends, or if there's one month where I just spend over amount, I can just pull from the sinking fund instead of from another area in my budget. And I organize all these sinking funds in a high yield savings account plugged to Wealthfront. I opened this account last month and it has been life-changing. First of all, it's a high yield savings account. So when I opened my account, it was a 2% APR and now it's a 2.55% APR, and that's absolutely insane. A lot of other APRs are maybe like 0.1%. I earned more in interest for that high yield savings account in 1 month than I have for my like normal checking accounts with other banks in a whole year. So that account is incredible because you're earning more on the money that you do have set aside, and you're basically not losing the value of your money due to inflation as rapidly as you would in other accounts. Also, the great thing about Wealthfront is that you can organize them into savings buckets. So instead of me having to like have this one savings account with a bunch of money in it where I have to keep a spreadsheet about what specific amounts are allocated towards specific sinking funds, Wealthfront has a feature within the app where you can organize the money into your different funds. So I've got my saving fund for the horse, I got my sinking fund for the car, I've got my sinking fund for fun. This is not sponsored, by the way. Not big enough to be sponsored, but I just honestly think this is incredible. There's like a friends and family referral code that I will put in the description bar if you want to use it. You would get $30 when you open your account. Disclaimer, I would also get something too. So if you don't want to support, you can just go Google Wealthfront high yield savings account. But if you do and you want to get $30 in the process, you can click that link. I'm honestly so excited about that, and the app is just it's so beautifully used. If you're like a number nerd like me, it's wonderful. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I do at the end of each month to pay my bills, organize my money as is, and then I clean up my spreadsheet and I move on to the next month. So overall, to recap on my first month of fully living alone and fully paying for all of my own expenses, I feel pretty pleased. I did start tracking my expenses spring semester of college to start getting an idea for how much I was spending each month. Before that, I'd always been pretty frugal, but I never specifically tracked everything. But I did want to come into adulthood with a relative grasp on what was like normal amounts to spend each month, and I'm glad I did that because I was able to set on my budget with pretty realistic expectations. So yeah, by the end of this month I'm feeling good and in control of my finances, which is a good thing to be feeling. So if you all like this video and you would like me to continue to make monthly budget with me videos, and I could also make a video outlining specifically how I budget and share the spreadsheet that I use with you all, let me know. I just love making these and like talking about numbers and organizing money. I love it. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.